And ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the last Friday of spring 2021. You know, summer solstice officially arrives Father's Day Sunday at 11:31 p.m. So good to have you along here, my friends. Welcome to another edition of Here and There, my digital live stream show. My name is Anwar Knight. We do this every Friday at 1 o'clock. And if you're new and you choose to participate, we hope you do, because that's what this is all about, real-time connection. Put a little asterisk in news so I know that you are brand new to the Here and There family. Now, we are streaming live here in Mississauga at Kariya Park. This is one of the most scenic parks in the city, and it sits here quietly. You know, not many people, I mean, I know a lot of people know about it, but some people are like, what? Where is this? It is just next to one of the largest shopping malls in the country, that of Square One, that is just to our north. And, you know, so there's Thorpe, and that's Square One across the way there. So it's just sitting here. It's a beautiful spot. It opened almost 30 years ago, and it honors the relationship between Mississauga and Korea, Japan. In fact, Mississauga is called Kariya. They're sister cities since 1981. So we're going to explore the history, and we'll give you a tour just as the rain starts to pick up, of course, coming up throughout the program. And it's a busy show, lots of fun coming up. Also today is International Sushi Day, so there's the tie-in. I'm going to serve up a little Canadian connection when it comes to sushi, and I think it'll hit some of you like a big scoop of wasabi. I think you'll be surprised, because I was. Of course, another AKQ, the Anwar Knight Query. We'll ask you a question about unique food combinations. We'll have your full forecast as we get into Father's Day. And we'll have another installment of the Nod to Nature. So welcome to the program. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to start off with International Sushi Day. Now, if you look out here at this park, again, the rain makes it a little difficult to enjoy, but I came here just the other day. I've been here numerous times, but the other day to do a site inspection, and there were couples sitting. You know, they find their little spot, they bring out a blanket, and then they have their lunch here. And many people come, especially at lunchtime, because it is so, you know, different. It takes away some of the hustle and bustle of the city there. So I'm not saying that you're going to come here and eat sushi, but that might be one of your treats. Sushi, Japanese food, is one of my favorite meals. And today is officially International Sushi Day. And, you know, it's interesting because the word sushi actually refers to cooked rice, not the raw fish. And what I found really interesting, a sushi chef, and Vern, who's a part of our crew, is it your godson? Yes. Your godson is a sushi chef, and it takes about a decade to really master that art. But the irony is that sushi, in an origination, it really was considered a cheap fast food. You were never supposed to use chopsticks. It was by your fingers. It was a quick sort of edible. So as a result, you know, it's sort of, I don't want to say a low-class item. It was something quick. It wasn't trendy back then, but how things have changed. And it makes you wonder a little bit, because you know, now, I mean, there are so many elite sushi restaurants around the world, and to think how it has evolved. Now, who likes California rolls? Yes? Okay. Did you know that the California roll was not really a Japanese concept? It was Canadian. It was invented here in Canada, and the story is amazing. There was a young sushi chef. This is about 50 years ago, mind you. He came from Japan to Vancouver to open up his own restaurant, and he quickly found that the Canadian culture, again, this is 50 years ago, they weren't into this concept of eating raw fish, and forget the seaweed, dried seaweed, no way. So he thought, let me figure a way around that. I'll just turn it inside out. So he put the rice on the outside, the seaweed on the inside, replaced the raw fish with crab meat, and boy, boom, doo-dah, it's a hit. But isn't that something? So the California roll is really made in Canada, and now it is certainly a part of the synergy of a wonderful delight of sushi that you can have, a variety of sushi. My son loves sushi, especially California rolls. We have a lot of people joining us. Mariah saying beautiful park, didn't know it was there. That's what the show is about, introducing new spots. Diane says this is great. Marsha's wishing everybody happy Friday. Tammy says, sushi is a favorite. Yeah, I love sushi. Man, I may have to get some after the show. And also, Helen says, very wet in Whitby right now. Rick is saying, greetings in a beautiful location behind you. It really is. This is something that is worthy of a drive, even if you're not from the the West End in the 905. Suzanne says, "Oh, there's a squirrel." Yes, there are squirrels here, but you know what we noted, Suzanne? Is that unlike Toronto squirrels, I'm from Mississauga, we're cheap. We don't feed the squirrels, so they're pretty lean here. Have you ever been to High Park? And those squirrels are fat. There was one just here. We're trying to see if we can find him again. But, it's almost like they have a tin cup. Say, can you just give me a morsel, please? Oh, man. Now, don't send me any bad emails, because I'm from the 905. I can say that proudly. Laura's saying sushi for dinner tonight. Jack is saying happy Friday from Caledon. Joanne says, how great. In the heart of the city, an oasis of calm. Yes. And she adds, love you, Anwar. Thank you so much, Joanne. I appreciate that. Brenda Sim is joining us, wishing us a happy Friday and have a wonderful Father's Day. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And Alan says, love all these locations that you go to, and some are little known to most. Well, that's what we hope to do, to expand. So as we rack back to the International Sushi Day, and we talk about how sushi, the California roll, is made. I have a good buddy of mine that loves sushi, not too much on the big chunk, and I think it's called maki. Is that with the big pieces of fish? Anyway, that's a tangent. He puts HP sauce, which is sushi. And that's what I said. I used to love HP sauce when I ate red meat. I really did. But this guy puts it on sushi. And I thought that'll be the AKQ today, the Anwar Knight Query, asking you a question. You help me with the answer. What are some of the unique food combinations in your household? Maybe it's for you, maybe it's a family member. What are some things that you mix together that others would scratch their head on? So let me know about that. I did some searching online, and I found a few that are going viral, and I wanted to share them with you. So these are unique food combinations. One was goat milk caramel, and I have some images here for you. Now, I'm not a goat guy. I don't do lamb, I don't do goat, I don't do red meat anymore, but I always found that goat and lamb it's just that gamey, that flavor? Some people love it. Ricardo's looking at me, my cameraman. Do you love it? Yeah. Love it. Because his eyes had daggers. It's like, what are you knocking my meat? I'm just not into it. And this, though, is goat milk caramel. Now, the goat milk apparently is very creamy. It's very rich. And it's sweet, so I guess it would lend itself to mixing it in with caramel. Apparently, it's a huge sensation. Goat milk caramel. Another, no, can't do goat cheese. Vern was saying goat cheese. Oh, no, can't do it. I'm sorry. Peanut butter and pickle sandwiches. Now, apparently, this has been around for a long time. Some say even from the Great Depression. It was a cheap way to make a meal, and sweet and savory. Apparently, it's quite popular. My wife mentioned that she's familiar with it from pregnancy craving. Not that she had it, but the whole concept of putting, a vinegar-based pickle, the texture, and then the peanut butter. And then do you do crunchy or smooth? To me, that's important. But that's another, combination. And another one I wanted to share with you is blueberries and steak. Now, I have to tell you, that sounds amazing to me. Because if you think, cranberries and turkey, that is the norm. So I think that would be a wonderful, combination. But some may say unique. But blueberries and steak, just some of them for you. And as we continue streaming live here, asking you, the AKQ, of what are some of your unique food combinations? You let me know. Ruth is joining us. And also, Diane says this is great. She's enjoying the program. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Deborah is saying happy Friday. And Giselle is joining us, saying hi from Burlington on a showery Friday. Yes, indeed. And Wally says, I'm back watching with my wife, Joanna, and my daughter, Jasmine, and son, Matthew. Well, hey, you got the whole family there. And he wishes a happy Father's Day. Thank you for that. Oh, and he mentions that his little girl's last day of school today. Well, doo-dah. I think it's a way to celebrate with sushi, maybe, Wally. I'll leave that up to you. But very cool indeed. So let's take a look at your forecast now as we stream live here at Kariya Park. And we're going to let you know that the weather's brought to you by the Big Blue Marble Podcast. We ask you to listen along to undeniable stories of our changing planet and the amazing people trying to save it. Available now in your favorite podcast player and online at www.bigbluemarble.earth. Joyce says, I'm a very plain eater. I do like crunchy peanut butter. No sushi for me, but wishes me a happy Father's Day. Well, thank you for that. Donna says her grandfather ate onion and orange sandwich. I don't know. Maybe the orange was to kill the onion smell. Give Grandpa a kiss. I don't know. That's interesting, though. Not for me. Mirage says my mom ate French fries on bread with peanut butter. I think in the UK, or maybe it was in Ireland, that's called a chip buddy. They put French fries on bread. They make a sandwich out of it. So starch on starch. You know what? I don't have a problem with it. I'm going to be honest. Kathy says, love your weather forecast. Miss you in the new news. Well, thank you for that. That's nice of you to say. Oh, Alan says curry on fries. Yes. That's almost like a curry poutine. Like, totally. All the guys are like, yeah, motion carried. Absolutely. And Ron says we used to core the seeds out of a cucumber and stuff it with peanut butter. You need Netflix. You need to get a better hobby, I think, Ron. Oh, and Margaret says my mom ate onion sandwiches. You know, I think it might be also a little bit of a generational thing and where you grew up, you know, the part of your heritage of the types of foods that you have. Ricardo was mentioning before we started streaming about avocado. Originally, you're from Colombia, so the avocado would be salty, right? Yep. Whereas in Brazil, they make it sweet with sugar. And he's like, what the? Crazy. You know, crazy, he's saying. So Kathy missed the question, and it is about unique food combinations. So things that you put together that some may scratch their head on, Kathy. So that's what we're doing for the AKQ. Kathy says peanut butter and banana. I think that's pretty popular. Oh, Lonnie, you need help. Peanut butter, lettuce, and mayo. Wow, that is going back to the Depression, I think. What's in the cupboard, Ma? But if you enjoy it, more power to you. Oh, man. Cheese and onion in the UK. Maybe. If you deep fry it, then I'm all in, right? So that's the question. But let's continue our tour here as we stream live at Kariya Park. So, you know, we're going to actually go for a bit of a walk in just a moment, but I wanted to start off on, you know, what the focal point is, and that's here at the pavilion. So this pavilion is sort of the centerpiece, and what it does is that it really marks the two different cities. So you will have the on one side, it represents Mississauga. On the other side, Kariya, Japan. Now, for those who don't know, Kariya, Japan is located about 15 kilometers southwest of Nagoya, between Kyoto and Tokyo in central eastern Japan. But unifying the two cities is this, the Friendship Bell. And you can see here a little Canadiana, so you have the maple leaves. Now, this was actually cast in Japan, so it's original, but it's about the solidarity between the two cities, and even on special occasions to this day, they do ring it. But the pavilion is quite, you know, extensive. It's a very large pavilion here, and this goes back to, you know, after the World War II. And the idea was to nurture relationships, which is just such a great thing, is to nurture relationships and understanding, and that's something I think we need to do now more than ever. But what it does, a part of having a quote-unquote sister city, is that it provides cultural and educational exchange opportunities. So sometimes, you know, students will do an exchange, as well as business interests. You know, they'll do a bit of a partnership. In fact, there are many benefits to that. The trade, you know, that has happened, the local economy here, over 100 Japanese companies that do business here because of partnerships, sister city initiatives like that. And the whole park is very nicely done. Now, we're going to try to do a bit of a walk. I'm going to get my umbrella, and we're going to try to do a walk. So what I'll do, okay, we're going to slow it down a little bit here. Everything that is done here is, and Vern, would you mind getting the other umbrella for Ricardo? Just to, okay. So everything that is done here at this park, it's all, you know, honoring Japanese culture. So, you know, you can see here some of the workmanship, and this was a collaboration between Japanese landscapers as well as local landscapers, but they wanted to keep the aesthetics all true to nature of what you'd find in a typical Japanese garden. And again, admittedly, this would be a lot prettier if it wasn't raining and we're under umbrellas, but you know what, the show goes on. So we're going to take you on a bit of a tour here, and you look at the koi. Look at this. Some of the fish, I mean, that is really large. And there is wildlife here. Certainly you'll see a lot of birds, the koi, the fish, and turtles that will bask in the sun. And there's many trees and plants, you know, of Japanese origin that's here. So everything has a purpose. And, you know, one thing that we're coming up to, again, originally from Japan, is the friendship sculpture. So here you have a little boy and a little girl, and again, celebrating relationships. Some of the trees and plants that are here, also redbud, sweet gum, peonies, and Japanese maples. And a few weeks ago, this was a very popular spot because they have the cherry blossoms. There are some 65 trees here. And the city of Mississauga, like Toronto, has also did an online webcast. They did keep the park open for the most part, but you can imagine you almost feel like you're in Japan here when everything was in blossom, and you see, like, we're coming up to a bridge here. So Ricardo, I'll let you lead if you'd like to turn around there and walk across the bridge. But is this not just breathtaking? You know, talk about escaping, you know, from the hustle and bustle of city life. And you have here, now you get a good perspective of the pavilion. So as I mentioned, each side representing a city, and the friendship bell then unifying them together, which really is quite striking. So you can imagine here how many wedding photos are done. And I'm not saying that you can do that without a permit, because that is essential, but it really is just amazing to see. And of course you see the bell in the middle there. So as we continue, the rain is starting to pick up. On my right we have some of the ducks, and I love how they sort of broke up, you know, the different ponds here. Again, you know, the whole idea is trying to keep it in respect to the Japanese culture of what you typically would find in a Japanese garden. And the beauty is, it's not a terribly large park by any means, but it's some place that you could come and you could spend easily a couple of hours with. You know, as I mentioned before, you know, people bring blankets and little chairs and sit under a tree, find their own little magic spot. And it's not like, you know, going to the beaches per se, or a huge park like Arundel Park or High Park where you have a very large space. This is more where you just want to reflect. You maybe want to connect with some of the animals here in terms of, you know, the birds or the fish, or just seeing the turtles, which my kids always love to see on a summer day when they come out to bask. Now again, you're seeing some of the Japanese maples as we stream live here at Kariya Park in Mississauga. And we are also asking you on the AKQ is, you know, unique food combinations, things that you put together that other people may say, no, not really. Oh, Joyce says, my wife's cousin actually got married there, and that was 3 years ago. Well, isn't that something? So an actual ceremony would be beautiful underneath, certainly the pavilion. And Donna says, we have a similar thing in Lindsay, and we are twinned with Naioro, Japan. Well, that's great. So again, it's that sister city initiative. So that's neat to see. You know, that might be another road trip for us on where we want to go. So I want to continue, if we can, because I want to show you a little bit of the walkways and one more item here. But again, now you have another pond that's sort of broken up, and you have a little bit of a mini bridge, Japanese-style bridge that takes you through there, which is really quite something. So the whole idea here is when you come here and you experience what this park is like, you want to really reflect about the city that it's representing. And that is something very special. Like, look at this. Isn't this cool? You know, my kids just love this, you know? Like, it's not very big, but it's just something so unique. And again, salutes to the culture, which is really amazing. And you can see the ducks. Boy, they seem to enjoy the rain. You know, what's that expression, water off a duck's back? Now, I want to just go over here to the corner because, as I mentioned, there are a number of different elements that originate from Japan or honor the customs. And one of them is towards the entrance here. And you can see what almost looks like a little basin. And this is the Sukubai Basin. So it's near the main gate. In Japan, these basins are meant to wash hands before entering a holy place to purify the visitors. So this all is the synergy here as soon as you come in. And it's more, you know, in really just sort of paying tradition. It's not that you're expected to do that per se, but as we get set to wrap up, I want to show you one last item here, and that's this mosaic. Now, what's really cool, as Ricardo shows you from afar, you can see that it is Japanese art. But as you zero in, as you look in here, you'll notice there's actually photos. There's over 6,700 photos that make up this mural. And again, it's all of participants celebrating that past exchange between Kariya and Mississauga. And it's used to create and commemorate the 30th anniversary of twinning our city. So is that not amazing? Over 6,700 images that are here. I thought that was really striking, and that is something that you will see as you come into the park. So we're streaming live here at Kariya Park in Mississauga, just across from Square One at Hurontario and Burnenthorpe. And as we get set to wrap up the show, I want to show you one final installment of our Nod to Nature for this week, for spring, before we start summer. And the Nod to Nature is just neat little stories that show the resilience of nature. And this one actually, tying into our theme here, it comes on the rooftop. It's in the UK, but comes on the rooftop of a Japanese investment bank. This is 11 stories high, where rare orchids have been discovered. Take a look at these images here. And it's really a fascinating story, because the orchids were thought to be extinct, in fact, in the UK over a decade ago. And they were just discovered. They're small flower tongue orchids, and they're thriving on this 11th floor garden. So there's a colony of them. They've seen 15 of them. Nobody knows how they got there. They just were discovered. And some experts, horticulturalists, are speculating, because the seeds are carried quite far, it may have come from a Saharan dust storm. You know, we're talking into the upper atmosphere, because this particular type of orchid is quite popular in France, Spain, and Portugal. But it may have come across the waters in a dust storm from the Sahara Desert, picked up, and it was put maybe into the UK, and they've landed by chance on this rooftop garden, 11 stories high, and now they're thriving. We've missed sort of the window of seeing them at peak bloom, which wrapped up a couple of weeks ago from March to May, but just shows the resilience of nature. You know, in the city core, you're seeing in London, on this rooftop garden of this Japanese investment bank, these orchids that are thriving, that are thought to be extinct. So I thought that was very cool, and that's this week's Nod to Nature. So I'm going to turn back to you guys. Cindy is joining us from Oshawa. Donna says, wow, that is awesome. Very interesting, says Jane. And Gabrielle says, is there wheelchair parking? That's a great question. So there's no official parking lot, but just outside of these gates, you can park on the road, and it is metered. And I would say there's probably room for 15 or so cars. There are 2 handicap spots, though, on the roadway. And then you'd be able to go up a ramp. So yes, it is wheelchair accessible, but there's no official parking lot. It's only on the road, so it's first come, first served. But that's a great question, and that's something I'm going to make a mental note of when we go to some of these parks to make sure that it's accessible for everybody. John says rooftop gardens cut down on the electricity bill. Beautiful and practical. You're absolutely right, and we're seeing more and more of that trend, John. That's absolutely true. And Rick says incredible mosaic, very clever artwork. Yeah. And I would imagine computers have certainly aided in the creation of it, but it really is quite something. Wallace says, thanks for doing this today, Anwar, with your crew in the rain. Yes, Vern looks like a drowned rat or one of the squirrels, but appreciates the dedication to the viewers and wishes us all a great weekend. Well, thank you, Wally. I do appreciate that. I'm glad you're enjoying it, because that's what it's all about. And Victoria says, love the garden. It's going to put it on the list. Well, that is awesome. And Janet says we should go on for 1 hour. Well, I don't know. Once we get sponsors, we may go to 1 hour. But there is a lot of work in here. And Kevin says, duck the lightning bolts. You know, you're right. If we heard thunder, I've always said, you know, if you hear the roar, get indoor, we'd be underneath the pavilion. We don't mess around with lightning, especially when we're dealing with electronic equipment. But I do appreciate that. So listen, guys, we're going to get set to wrap up here, because we don't want to you know, ruin our luck on the equipment in terms of being outside when it's raining. But again, I ask you, if you enjoyed the program, support it. And that's by showing me a parade of hearts. Let's see those lineup of hearts to say that you like what you're seeing. Please make sure that you're following my page and share the show. Tell your friends, you know, if you want to escape of what's going on, you want to connect real time, this is a platform for you. We can all get together every Friday at 1 o'clock, and you could be anywhere around the world, like Sharon is joining us from Jamaica today. So that's what it's all about. Show me the hearts and follow. Oh, I love that one. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Kathy says, love the information and the tour of the garden. Have a very happy Father's Day. Great job on the audio. Connie says, thanks. Sandy says, great show. Boy, the rain's really picking up. Let's head back to the pavilion. We're going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you so much for your support. And if you're joining us on the YouTube replay, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next Friday for another edition of Here and There. Have a safe and happy Father's Day weekend, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.